Mableton to be a dumping ground for developers who just think they can bring Mableton anything. And we've already seen cases of builders who actually did try to bring anything here. Once I came to the council, I was also actively advocating for the extension of the urban redevelopment area to Lions Club Drive. So Lions Club Drive, I think mostly everybody probably knows where it is. That's where the community center is, which I hate. It's not the best quality, and it really upsets me because when I go to other parts of the county and I see the type of facilities that they have, ours is definitely lacking. But also, it's where we vote, where we early vote. And so that is definitely a blighted area. There's not anything that's getting ready to happen there right now, but the urban redevelopment area was extended to Lions Club Drive, and that is a tool in the future that gives us the opportunity to be able to potentially drive development in that area. Also, I work with community partners, Friends of the Concord Covered Bridge Historic Society, to help beautify the entrance to the bridge. So that was a fun project, and I don't think I see any of them here today, but that was a fun project. So, and by the way, the Concord Covered Bridge is in District 4. So under economic and cultural development, the first event that I hosted as a council person was a creative community networking event. So this was at right here in Mableton on Veterans Memorial at Happy Cat Studios. We had more than 60 Mableton creatives, authors, film industry individuals, muralists, fine artists, graphic artists, educators, and broadcasters who actually came to this event. So this will actually be an annual event, and I have it under economic development because the arts have the ability to drive economic development. And so this is also the precursor to Mableton getting a film commission and also a arts commission. Also under economy or economic development, we welcomed 2 new banks to Floyd Road. So I think that brings Floyd Road to a total of 5 banks, and I made a joke at the ribbon cuttings, they were both on the same day. And I was like, man, this is turning into Mableton's Wall Street. But we did welcome them on, and then also family favorite Jeremiah's Italian Ice also came to Mableton. Now that was really organic growth. That wasn't something that the city was necessarily involved in bringing to Mableton, but our economic development director will talk more about how we do that type of thing when he speaks. So in terms of community partnerships, I'm actively working with Dr. G. For those who know her, she's the principal of Pebblebrook High School. That is the high school that we are mapped to here in District 4 for the most part. And I will be working on an initiative to support their girls' sports teams, all of them, but especially the brand new softball team that is about to start. So I'm super excited about that. I will share more information about that with you through social media and on my newsletter as we finalize that plan. Also, I joined the Cobb County Advisory Board for Metro Atlanta Boys and Girls Club, and I'm working with them to help strengthen their ties back to the city. This is a Boys and Girls Club that's been there for 50 years. I actually found out a fun fact that Mableton longtime resident Jeff Paget, actually it's named after his uncle. He actually started that program. So they do really great work, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with them. And then collaboration with our own Camp Timber Ridge right here. I want to shout out Jessica Merriman, if you would take a stand up here. So Jessica is with the Metro Atlanta Girl Scout Council, and she's a District 4 resident. And so we are working together on trying to bring this beautiful gem more into Mableton in terms of interacting with the community. Is it 100 years? It's 100 years old, right?
It is.
Okay, so this property it's 100 years old. This camp has been here. It's over 200 acres, and it is the largest uninterrupted green space in all of Cobb County. And so it's beautiful. They've got a lake and cabins and all sorts of things out there. And so we're working on ways where we can bring the community into this particular facility. So, and this right here, you know, by having even a town hall meeting is something that brings us closer to Girl Scouts. And then finally, every year, I was doing this before I was on the council, but I always participate in the annual Lindley Middle School career fair. And one fun fact from that career fair, I polled all the kids on if you could have anything you want in Mableton, what would it be? And I was thinking it was going to be like a skateboard park or something like that, and they said Raising Cane's. So I thought that was like, they all wanted Raising Cane's. So, and if you didn't know, because I didn't know, it's chicken fingers. Chicken fingers. Like we already don't, yeah, I know. So I invited Commissioner Sheffield to be here. She was not able to be here, but she did send a couple updates that I want to share, and some great updates. So number one, there is park property, 25 plus acres, and it is adjacent to the Publix on Veterans Memorial, and this is referred to as the Henderson property. And this year, the county will be releasing $3.4 million that will come from the above the projection list on SPLOST, meaning that when they collect more money from SPLOST than what they anticipated, there's extra funds, and so there's extra funds in this instance, which will allow them to start to actually finally work on getting a park there. This has been here, I think it was since 2008, and it's just been sitting there. So it's amazing. It's a beautiful property. It has a waterfall on it. There used to be like a mill there, and so I'm really looking forward to that. And then also on the 8/25 meeting, the BOC will vote on another agenda item awarding a construction contract to install drainage at the Concord Covered Bridge. So this means that the bridge will be closed in order to do this work. And they will also, so they're putting in new, like, I think for lack of a better word, slats, or I don't know if the guys from Croy can help me, but, and so they'll be putting that in, and then also 51 daytime light fixtures. Unfortunately, they don't have a better solution for the people who can't read, or I don't know what happens, the ones that actually hit the bridge all the time. And then finally, if you've been in Mableton as long as me or even longer, particularly in District 4, you have probably experienced power outages all the time. And so I have reached out to government relations at Georgia Power to understand why this is. Some of it has to do with our tree canopy. We have so many trees, and so even if you have underground utilities, you still can have power outages because somewhere along the way the trees go down. But the great news is I found out is that there will be a grid improvement project that is slated for us in the fourth quarter of this year. Okay? And then finally, in terms of what I have coming up, there will be, in October, I'll do a series of posts about Disability Awareness Month, just a social media campaign highlighting resources that are available for our disabled community. And then probably next year, I will actually put on a disability figure for the community. Just didn't have enough time to get it off the ground this time. And then finally, there was a new Georgia Property Owners Bill of Rights that was passed by the Georgia legislature. And I will be conducting with a couple community groups an HOA boot camp that will walk, those of you who live in subdivisions in HOA communities, they will walk you through this particular bill, what it means for you, and just helping you understand how you navigate now going forward. So there are additional protections, in other words, for homeowners that weren't there before. So, how can you get involved? There are boards and commissions that the city has, which, in addition to obviously the mayor and the council, who, have governance over the city, we also ask for citizens to get involved. Now, I've listed the boards and commissions that have not yet been seated for District 4. So these are the ones that actually still have openings. There are other boards and commissions that are here that we've already seated people for, like alcohol, like my ethics commission, Patricia is out here. We have planning, zoning, those have been seated, but these are the ones who are available. So if you are interested, please go to the city website, www.mableton.gov, and you can go to the tab that lists boards and commissions, where you can go fill out the information and let it be known that you're interested in joining one of these boards and commissions. And that is it. So I will ask if there are any questions. However, if you have questions related to public safety, the police, I would ask for you to hold those for me until we get to the open forum. But if you have something other than that, I'm happy to field those questions right now. Okay? All right. Also, I want to recognize our state representative, Terry Cummings, District 39, is here tonight. Thank you for being here, Representative Cummings. And without further ado, I'm going to call Mr. Artie Jones, and he will talk to us about tax allocation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. You guys are tired. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. All right. Thank you, Councilwoman, for allowing me to talk on redevelopment powers law this evening. And thank you, Representative Cummings. She was one of the first officials that I was introduced to when I started working here for the city of Mableton. When I started to work on redevelopment powers law, and to be able to get this legislation here approved in the city of Mableton. The Economic Development Department has a number of economic development tools, and at their to use at their pleasure. Some tools you have automatically. Some tools you actually have to go through a process of applying for those tools. What I'm going to talk to you about tonight is tax allocation districts and redevelopment powers law. What is a tax allocation district? A tax allocation district is an economic development tool. Yes. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. A tax allocation district is an economic development tool that cities and counties use to help improve neglected properties. This includes, underused areas where disinvestment has happened, new development. It includes new development also, not just redevelopment. And what you get from redevelopment powers law and tax allocation districts is improved property taxes on those properties, which correlate to better services in your community, because those additional taxes can be utilized for services. Where can a TAD be used? A TAD can be used anywhere that is designated where you do a redevelopment plan. The city of Mableton does not currently have a redevelopment plan for a tax allocation district. On November 3rd of this year, you will have the opportunity to vote on redevelopment powers law. Redevelopment powers law is simply this legislation. The tax allocation district is actually the economic development tool that is used to redevelop property. Where can TADs be used? In blighted areas, economically struggling areas, areas with aging infrastructure. The benefits of a TAD. In the communities that I've worked in around the state since '99, whenever I set up a tax allocation district, a tax allocation district was an excellent tool in that the city did not have to utilize general fund revenue for public infrastructure improvements. Instead, developers would develop property, the increased value of that property that they developed, there was additional taxes that was collected, and those additional taxes was used to invest in that same area for that infrastructure. So you see, it's an advantage to have a redevelopment powers law in place. And what can a TAD be used for? Well, of course, it does create jobs, it attracts businesses, it improves neighborhoods, and it generates more tax revenue after redevelopment. My son is passing out a flyer, well, he's about to pass out a flyer that you guys will get. And this is going to define for you exactly what a tax allocation district is. And after I explain it to you, I'd like for everyone to please, if you have any questions on redevelopment powers law, let me know. What you're going into the ballot for on November 3rd, Tuesday, November 3rd, is to vote on redevelopment powers law, which is, like I said, it's legislation. You're not voting on any particular area of the city because the redevelopment area has not been identified at this time. Is everyone clear so far? Redevelopment powers law and the taxes that are generated is not an additional tax. It is not an additional tax. What happens is you have an area. I'll let everyone get their flag first.
No, I'm sorry. You go see if you ask questions.
Here. I'll hold it up. Can everyone hear me? Okay. All right. I almost have to touch your lip on the this microphone. Redevelopment powers law is, like I said, it's legislation that will be voted on November 3rd. If it is voted on affirmatively, if there's 50% of the vote plus one, what that will allow the Economic Development Department to do is to set up a tax allocation district. A tax allocation district is an area that we will designate that needs redevelopment or new development. An area is identified. This becomes the TAD. This area becomes the TAD. The citizens, just like Mableton 2045, just like that plan, where the citizens got a chance to come out and they got a chance to identify the areas that they would, as far as the future land use. Well, you have the very same opportunity as we're setting up the redevelopment area in the tax allocation district. You'll have the opportunity to be able to point out those areas that you would like to see redeveloped, where you would like this funding to be reinvested into the community. Once the tax allocation district is actually identified, whatever the value is within that particular area, let's just say, for instance, in that particular area, the value of that property happens to be $50 million. And from that $50 million of property, $1 million is being collected in taxes from that area. Is everybody with me? $50 million of property within the TAD area, and that in this area, there's $1 million of taxes, property taxes being collected from that area. Well, that $1 million is already going to a couple of entities right now. It's going to yes, sir.
$1 million collected over how long amount of time?
Well, it's just being collected over a year.
Oh, 1 year. Thank you.
Yeah, 1 year. I'm sorry, 1 year. $1 million. So in year 2, there's $2 million that's been collected. In year 3, $3 million. The base year, whenever this tax allocation district is actually established, and we find out that there's $1 million being collected in this area, the Board of Education, Cobb County Board of Education, and Cobb County government are collecting that $1 million right now. Is everybody with me? They're collecting that money. When it is established during that first year that $1 million is collected, And let's say a developer goes into this area that's worth, how much is it worth? How much? It's worth $50 million. Now let's say they invest $100 million into that area. Now how much is that area worth? $150 million. So the new tax revenue, the $100 million, the new tax revenue from that, and we said it was $50 million, $1 million. So now, if it is $150 million, how much in taxes is being collected in that area? $3 million. How much is going to the Board of Education and Cobb County? 1. How much is being reinvested back into the tax allocation district? $2 million. Okay, and what can that funding be used for, that $2 million? It can be used for infrastructure, like roads, sidewalks, lights, any type of infrastructure. It can be used for parking decks. It does not go directly to the developer. If the developer does not invest the money into the tax allocation district area, guess what? He gets nothing out of it. So is everybody clear on that concept of a tax allocation district? It is not an additional tax. It's the additional taxes that's being collected from the additional investment in that area. Yes, ma'am.
What is attracting these businesses to invest in this blighted area? Why would I build my business there?
Well, developers in most cases, if they come into an area, and let's just say, for instance, a developer wants to come in and they want to build say a restaurant. It's $1 million restaurant in this particular area. They want to build that $1 million restaurant on their property. But they find out that the water line is about 100 feet down the road, and it's going to cost them $150,000 to $200,000 to tie into that line. Sometimes that will make a project not feasible. So what they will do is they won't invest in that area. Within a tax allocation district, it is possible that since that developer is investing that $1 million in that area, it's going to have an improved value, and then there's additional tax revenue that will be collected as a result. And that additional tax revenue can go into actually tying that restaurant into that water line.
So the city pays for
Yeah, well, no. The restaurant pays for it.
Okay.
The restaurant pays for it.
it. What is the benefit there?
The benefit is that there's two ways, there's a couple of ways that the money from a tax allocation district can be collected. One is called a pay-as-you-go. A pay-as-you-go means that in the scenario I just had earlier, this is initially $50 million in this area, $100 million was invested into it. Now the area is worth $150 million. $1 million is going to the Board of Education and the county, and then there's an additional $2 million that's being reinvested back into the tax allocation district itself. What will happen is that's on an annual basis, and let's just say, for instance, hypothetically, year after year after year, that tax revenue over time, let me back up a step. A tax allocation district is set up for a 30-year period of time once you actually set one up. You want to try to get all of your projects up and going within a tax allocation district within the first 10 years. That's the best. The reason that you want to do that is sometimes you may want to go out for bonds, which have a 20-year limit, and to be able to get that project done within a 30-year period of time, you want to have all of your projects up and going by at year number 10, so that at sunset at 30 years, you can sunset that particular tax allocation district. An example of a tax allocation district is Camp Creek Marketplace. That one has already sunset. That is the most successful tax allocation district in the state of Georgia.
So, just so I'm clear,
Yes, sir.
the city takes out municipal bonds for 20 years municipal bonds, banking on the fact that there will eventually be more revenue coming from the existing area when they invest that money. Right.
Yes, and the thing about it too, another thing, is that it's going to be the guarantee of the private, whoever the private developer is. The city will back it up with the bond money. I'm sorry?
What guarantees that? What is the private developer guarantee?
He guarantees the bond.
So you're.
And then, yes, so, and of course, a bond, ladies and gentlemen, is nothing more than a loan that governments get. So, if they get this loan over a 20-year period of time, as that revenue comes in from that tax allocation district, from that improved area, it goes back to pay for the bond over that 20-year period of time.
But they don't get that money coming in from the new tax district. The developer who originally reinvest that property covers the bond.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it may
Thanks.
help, being in Cobb County, they may be more familiar with Belmont Hill.
Belmont Hills?
Belmont Hill is a smart area, if you wanna have a real tangible, practical example of beneficial tax allocation, just go look at, if you wanna hear a real practical example of a Cobb County tax allocation district, look at Belmont Hills. If you're familiar with going down Windy Hill, right there, Windy Hill and Atlanta Road, that was all undeveloped area. An investor, reason an investor will come in an area, this lady asked about blight property, is because of location and rooftops. All of a sudden, if I'm an investor, and I see a potential in an area where I can come in and develop and make money on that development, I'm gonna grab it. Windy Hill and Atlanta Road is a busy intersection, as you all know, but now if you go by Belmont Hills, that's a very beautiful place. And what happens, as what he's saying, is what happens, is that stuff kind of pays for itself without putting a burden on others. So that's what you do when you create a tax allocation district. You attract folks who may be able to save money as they develop instead of having paying taxes to the city. They keep to use that tax to reinvest. I hope I explained that right.
Right. And an additional thing too, the first I said is, they can go out and they can get bonds over time, but then there could also be a pay-as-you-go, which means that the developer just goes ahead, he pays for whatever that improvement is, and then as the tax revenue as the tax revenue is collected on a year-to-year basis, the developer gets his money back from that. But it's not from the city, it is from the improvements. So if he never does the project, then he never gets the money.
Marty, can I interject real quick?
Yes, sir.
At Belmont Hills is actually a pay-as-you-go TAD model.
Okay, Belmont Hills is a pay-as-you-go model. I think your hand was up first.
Yeah, so actually the Belmont Hills leans in a little bit to one of my questions on it, because the business owners that were on that trip and the homeowners that were on that trip, because I actually lived there prior to that project,
Yes.
were not asked, were not counseled, they had no recourse to the decisions that were made. How would someone in the city who lives in an area that's designated and possibly not by themselves as one of these districts, what recourse would they have, what decisions are being made for development?
You said as far as development?
Yeah. Yeah. What
Well,
choice would we
the thing
have
about
to
it is that
make?
when it is initially established,
They'll take their input.
that is the time that everyone needs to give their input. If they want that development in their area or not, you have say-so in it. That's why you have your elected officials here also to,
But the elected officials did not listen to us in Belmont, which is why I asked the question.
That was smart, you know, that mayor didn't listen to many people, I'm gonna keep it real. Max didn't pay attention to not one person. He did what he wanted to do.
But is there a
I think we've
recourse?
seen that
That's
before.
what we're giving that to us.
So just a question, did I read correctly that you said there's no actual plans for where these districts would be?
no, that would be getting ahead of the process. The thing is that on November 3rd, you're not voting on any particular area whatsoever. It's kind of a blank slate. Within the comprehensive plan, there were several small, I guess, district areas that was identified, areas that we felt would be those areas that would be able to be developed the fastest. We don't know that for sure. We're going to be doing a study citywide of trying to identify those areas that have the best chance to be able to benefit from a tax allocation district. Some of the things that we look for when you're looking at areas for redevelopment, you want to look at lower property values in those areas. You want to look at slum and blight. You want to look at those areas where there is public safety issues, not enough lighting, things like of that nature. You want to look at areas where there's high unemployment. You want to look at other areas that where there's no development, there's greenfield, there's nothing but trees there. But yeah, we have not identified that, but we kind of have an idea of where some of those areas are. And we want to work with the citizens to find out where those areas are and what would be most advantageous.
So, I as a voter, given that we've seen kind of this moving target, this kind of amorphous policy standpoint, especially in regards to city light, it's kind of now evolving into this city maximalism. The misses with the public service district and the taxes that were unexpected. Why as a voter would I vote to approve something when you guys say that there is no plan? Why would I not want to see that plan first before I give you that authority?
Well, what I can say is that you can look at the alternatives. The citizens, my understanding since I've been with the city, and I've only been with the city 16, 17 months now, is that the citizens wanted to have better services. That's why it was formed. The citizens wanted to have more amenities. Instead of going out of the community to go to nice restaurants, they wanted to have nice restaurants here. They wanted to have better infrastructure. They wanted to have more control of the parks. They just wanted to have more control overall. If a tax allocation district or if redevelopment powers law is not in place, whenever developers come to the community, it's going to be a requirement that infrastructure improvements be made. And those infrastructure improvements are going to have to be made with some resources from somewhere. And if those resources are not available, you're going to be in the same situation that you happen to be in right now. So I look at the alternative instead, and also look at how can I become more intentional right now and become a part of that plan and give feedback to that plan and not become a victim to the circumstances. Yes, ma'am.
I think more importantly, I think the way the statute is written, the cart doesn't come before the horse. The horse, you have to start with getting permission to do this, and then you define it. You can't, under the law, define the area first and then vote on it. It doesn't-
Yeah. And in addition to that, you have to also take in consideration that, I'm sorry, I saw a hand over here. City manager?
Yeah, ma'am, you nailed it too. I want to, because I know what we want to do. What we want to do is educate, but you nailed it. The question was, why would you vote for something that have a plan? This is not the tag though you vote for in November. You're voting to give a city the authority to create a tag. Every city in Cobb County has this authority to set it. We're a new city. All we're trying to do is get the same authority and abilities that any other city in Cobb County has. This does not create the tag. The redevelopment authority powers allows us to create a tab if that is so-called decided. So every city in Cobb County has that. So why would you vote for it? It's because you're empowering your city to have the ability to attract developers if we decide to do that. And this is one of the tools that the redevelopment powers will give, we will be able to do the taxes. So that's why we vote for it, because we want the city at least to be in a position to have some control over development.
Yes. And another thing too, as far as redevelopment powers law, like I said, it's not a requirement that a tax allocation district be set up after the fact. There are some communities that have actually adopted redevelopment powers law legislation, but have not gone on to set up a tax allocation district. Redevelopment powers law, like I said, is legislation, but a tax allocation district is actually the tool. You know that whenever it comes down to want to redevelop in the future, if you don't do it this year, next year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you may say, okay, I'm going to use this tool now because it's appropriate, right? It's appropriate at that time. Yes, ma'am.
I still don't understand what you're talking about. Like I don't you were talking about blighted areas.
Yes.
I don't understand why somebody who wants to develop wouldn't just go, okay, this is cheap land, I can buy this. Don't we have zoning powers to control whether or not somebody puts something in? I don't understand why we need this. Why is it insufficient for the market and capitalism to work? Why do we need this extra light?
I think how I can define that is that what Mableton has right now is what the market has defined. Because you lack various types of amenities and infrastructure in certain areas are blighted, that's what the market has given you. Economic development is here to try to bridge that gap so that you can get that stuff that you need. So we don't have anything to do with planning and zoning, but we work very, very closely with the Community Development Department. And we are trying to we're trying to attract development, and one way to do that is to have that carrot. And that carrot is having a tax allocation district where the developer, if he invests in this area, some of the weaker areas of the community, he may be able to reap the benefits of being able to get that infrastructure to make a project work. If it's not there, they're not gonna come. I've been doing this since '99 in 6 communities. I've set up about 5 tax allocation districts. Out of the 5 that I've set up tax allocation districts, out of the 5 that I had to adopt the redevelopment powers law, 4 of the 5 actually set up tax allocation districts. So one community found that it wasn't the tool that they wanted to use, but at any given time, they can set one up. All they have to do is do a redevelopment plan, adopt a resolution, that particular area, set up policies and procedures, and then they're off to the races.
Can I add something?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I just want to say, like, succinctly, it is an incentive that is offered to a developer who will then maybe, someone who wasn't looking at this area or was not, didn't think that the area was valuable enough. It's an incentive that can help to bring them in. And I said to Director Jones the other day, don't mention Atlantic Station as an example, but it's the most famous example in Atlanta metro area of a TAD. And I didn't want him to mention it because I don't want people thinking that we're trying to turn Mableton into Atlanta, because we're not. Mableton needs to figure out how it's going to authentically be Mableton. A TAD might be part of what helps us to get there. But if you've been in Metro Atlanta a long time, you know that up there on 17th Street was the remnants of I believe it was a steel plant, steel mill. Been there for 50, 60, 70 years. It was blighted. It was badly blighted. There were unknown substances in barrels that were, buried in the ground, etc. And it just sat there. It was fallow. And you would pass it on, when you're going down 75, 85, and it was just sitting there, right? And so Atlanta did this redevelopment Powers Act. They got a TAD going, and the rest is history. Now we can have a conversation about how they did it and what it's like now, but the point of the matter is that had that not been a TAD, I don't know if anyone would have ever come into that, because it was literally EPA, I think brown site, brown field. Yeah, so it was contaminated, and they were able to use the TAD to advance that. So I just wanted to add that.
Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So, as a voter, if we don't vote for this TAD,
Yes.
and there is development here in Cobb County, and taking the example that you used, the county and school board gets $1 million. Would they then get the additional $2 million if there is some form of development here in Cobb County? So where would that additional money go if there's improvement development?
If the TAD is not set up,
Okay.
if redevelopment powers law is not adopted and the TAD is not set up, and if development just happens to happen naturally, and you have $100 million to be invested in this same area, which brings it to $150 million, the entire $3 million would go to the Board of Education and the county.
That's what I wanted you to ask.
Right.
I'm sorry?
And they will do
That's presuming you
Well,
get
no,
the development.
what she said is that the tax allocation district was not set up at all. So nothing would go to the tax allocation district. because it wasn't set up at all.
We're all about Cobb County School Board.
Yeah.
We're part of Cobb County.
I'm sorry,
Are we not part of Cobb County?
I think they have to go to the city.
Well, actually, what I wanted to say was, in 2025, it was about a year ago, the mayor and commissioners voted to declare that 23-acre property at Hicks and Concord Road a blight. And then they floated a bond, and it was, the city has purchased that property, my understanding, for over $5 million. So will this be part of the TAB? Will this parcel be part of the TAB? And just to state, it's surrounded, it's 2-lane roads on either corner of it, and it's surrounded by R20 residential areas, so.
okay,
I-
all right. To clarify to everyone, there is, redevelopment area has not been identified. We don't know where the TAD is gonna be. I'm not even familiar with this property that you're talking about.
You have ideas.
My property abuts it, so I'm very well aware.
They have ideas where they're.
Yeah, we purchased that property because it sits so close to the Silver County Trail. We're looking for it to become a destination location in the city. When you have access to the Silver County Trail and that much beautiful land, that's more than likely to be for something that would be useful for citizens, not a tax allocation.
You mean a park?
Yes, some of that. Right. Something that citizens can come off the trail. We're looking and thinking that when we create Mableton as a destination city, if you're biking or you're coming through our city, we would love to have a place that you can pull off that trail and pull into some area, take a break, and we would love that to be in our city.
Right, I agree, but
We're not looking for development in that area.
so that would not be part of the.
I would, as a city manager, I would not recommend that to the council. I don't make decisions, but I think the council listens to me on a regular basis. That is too beautiful a piece of property on a Silver County Trail. Not many cities have access to a Silver County Trail. When I was in Powder Springs, we tried to make the most out of it. We couldn't because it was so far off the trail. But if you come right through our city, and bikers come through, and runners come through, and have a nice reprieve place to go to, whatever you do, come recreation there, we thought that would be a great idea for the future city, not just some development at this point.
And just to be clear for the record, it's a beautiful piece of blighted property, right?
When we say blighted, blight doesn't mean ugly, blighted also means undeveloped. Blighted also falls.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I found out that my time has elapsed. If anyone would like to talk to me, and I can address any questions right outside the door, thank you for the opportunity. Visit our website if you want to learn more about redevelopment powers law. There's a lot of videos there, a lot of great information. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. I know that's a complex topic, so definitely take him up on his offer, and you're always welcome to reach out to me as well. So now, without further ado, we are going to call up the most popular man in Mableton. I know Michael Owens thinks it's him, but it's actually Jerry Silver.
Hello. Good evening. Thank you, Councilwoman Brown, for allowing me the opportunity to speak to the citizens in your district. So I'm going to talk to you about code enforcement and the process of that. A little too fast. So, what do? We receive complaints throughout the city, and we go out, we investigate those complaints, and we go out and investigate them. And we don't only just investigate what you call in for. We investigate every problem on that property. So with that being said, we allow the owners of the properties time to bring it into compliance. The more problems you have on the property, the more time we give. We give extensions. Unfortunately, sometimes we have to write citations, but we do give time for everyone to come into compliance with their properties. So code enforcement is a philosophy and a practice. But what we do is we take care of blight, we take care of rundown properties, we try to maintain the value of your property. we try to make sure that your neighbors maintain their property. There's nothing worse than you cut your grass and then your neighbor doesn't cut their grass. There's nothing worse than them parking on the grass and you don't park on your grass. Or they don't paint their home. Or the fence is damaged. So what we do is go out and try to get them the opportunity to bring their property into compliance while maintaining. So the officers does have a lot of tools in their toolbox, but the first thing we do is give a warning notice. So what I'm gonna do is walk you through a step-by-step guide on how we accomplish that. So we receive the complaint, the officer goes out, as I stated, investigates that complaint. And then, once